There's going to be a state of flux, but Chris Cotner is an attorney that's focusing on the industry. He's doing an incredible job for a lot of clients. I know a lot of people who've hired him who are very, very happy that they have. He's a part of this network. He started coming to our meetings at the very beginning, and we really appreciate the value that he's provided in this setting and also other places we've had him speak. So anyway, help me welcome up Chris Cotner!
We need this chair. It's been a long day. I've been fighting with the state of Oklahoma today, but not about cannabis. Let me just ask it this way. Questions, because you guys probably got plenty of them, especially when you saw Unity pass. What's the biggest question you had when it passed? Yeah. And if it's about labs, I'm out.
It's not the transportation, pages 51 through 55.
Okay.
It makes delivery legal with the new $100 transportation fee. It says between licensed, any place that has a license. It's vague in the fact that it doesn't say if the license includes patients, because all the patients have their OMA license. So we've been talking, I have a delivery business that's for dispensaries to patients. We just launched last week. We're in the App Store. But we've been talking with Echo's office on how the wording is vague in the transportation section of the Unity app, and if you would write in a part that says specifically dispensary to patient instead of between two licensed places.
Right. So that's an issue because it's statutory construction. So when you pass a piece of legislation and the smart people supposedly write it, what did they mean when they wrote what they wrote?
Right.
And you can't resort to them showing up to my office, or if you get prosecuted, Representative Eccles is not going to show up at your hearing and say, well, what we intended was this. And it just doesn't work that way. And so that sort of vagueness is in Unity. There's a couple other things, and I was trying to remember what they were as he was saying what I was going to talk about. But the issue is, from my opinion, this is just me, your mileage may vary, I think that the legislature right now has tired head about medical marijuana. And they've got some bigger fish to fry as we get to the end of session. They haven't even passed an education bill yet, or the funding yet. And so, yes, there are things that will be fixed, and there are some trailer bills coming. But whether that specifically gets added, I don't know. And for right now, if it's vague enough that you that you might work or it might not work, that's a business decision. So, and that's what we can talk. So there's a significant tolerance for risk right now in the cannabis industry, right? Okay. I'm going to the same jail that my clients are going to. I am furthering according to the federal government, I am furthering a criminal enterprise. So for the same reason that the most recent example we saw was Trump's personal attorney Cohen. They put him in jail. One of the reasons they put him in jail was because he supposedly furthered a criminal. You can't use attorneys to do bad acts. There are attorneys who will do them for you, but they're going to jail as well. So I'm taking the same risk that you all are taking by representing you. Maybe not as badly, but I am going to jail. And so it's a tolerance for risk. So when you have vagueness like that and you read something and you say, it kind of looked like it might work. The question is, you could call me and I will probably tell you my answer is going to be, well, we could read it 6 different ways, but at the end of the day, it's not my business. It's your business. So that's a business decision for you to make. I have to keep in mind that when we talk about compliance, when we talk about things, I'm still going to be, after you leave me or get off the phone with me, I'm going to move on to the next question, and you have to implement whatever it was we just talked about.
That's right. I don't understand why you say you'd go to jail when it's been decriminalized. I understand we can all get fines, but I don't.
No, at the federal, if the U.S. attorney, federally, if the U.S. attorney, I hope everybody understands this. Yes. If they don't, let's just be clear about it. The sale, distribution, possession, or use of marijuana at the federal level is illegal. Illegal. So, anybody who's a dispensary grower or processor is a drug trafficker.
That's right.
Right now, federally. Federally, it's a drug trafficker. And that's why 280E applies, the IRC code about trafficking drugs and how taxes apply. So, just so there's no misunderstanding.
So is our 14% tax payoff money then?
It's
In a way, it is like, in a way, yeah.
we're all going to
Pieces of the government.
if the newly appointed United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma, which is Oklahoma City, decided tomorrow that one of his priorities in enforcement was marijuana. There are some other restrictions in place that might keep it from happening, but they could start pulling all of us. So just know that. What other question? Something that's come. Go ahead. Yeah.
If that policy from the U.S. Attorney was to come down, would they brief local law enforcement about the federal action before they took it?
I mean, we've all watched video of the FBI showing up at your house at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? So I'd say no. Yeah. I'd say no. Because I don't know how many OCPD officers at this point in time would pull the trigger on them. I mean, I think there's a lot of police officers. I mean, I know some police officers, and I can't tell you who they are, and their names wouldn't matter to you anyway. But who have expressed we're kind of glad we don't have to screw with this anymore. Something that's come up recently, and I feel like I've talked about this, but maybe I haven't with my clients, or maybe I haven't otherwise. But what happens if you all get into this business, you take out a loan for $200,000, and then your business fails? What do normal people do?
Bankruptcy.
Yeah. Do you think you can file bankruptcy?
No.
Nope. Not at all. So just keep that in mind. Cannot file bankruptcy. Yet. Now this is all the conversation we're having is probably going to be really just an interesting intellectual exercise in about 18 to 24 months. And once that happens, then we'll be on our way doing our own thing. So yeah.
Did you see this going backwards as far as we're seeing reversing that?
No, that's it. I've been asked that. So my impression of 788 passing and before it passed was that there are large numbers of conservative religious voters in Oklahoma that were tired of seeing their families and friends strung out on opioids. I mean, that's been my sense and impression. I don't think it's going backwards. Whether we ever get to recreational is a separate question.
It'll pass.
Yeah, it probably will. But for right now, I don't think it's going backwards. Yeah, because I've seen too many stories. Heard the plural anecdote is crap, not data. We don't have data yet, but there's enough anecdotal stuff coming out now that there's no way we're going back. I mean, I got a guy I know who started a dispensary. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't even need the hassle. But he started one because his mom was 70 years old, got her patient license, and in 30 days had quit taking all the shit she'd been taking for
There you
years.
go.
And he was like, I'm in. So I think it's that kind of stuff you're going to start seeing. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the chances of someone had a felony for growing in the past of getting that expunged now that we're legal to grow?
Do you need it expunged? I mean, I don't think it's going to do any good. Yeah, it's not going to.
Doesn't change anything.
It won't keep you from getting your job.
Yeah, it's not going to help in any way at this point. So some of the stuff that I've seen. I mean, let's talk about Unity for a second. So what Unity did is it mainly had a lot of stuff about labs and testing in it. The business license aspect of this has not really changed. A lot of people got kind of freaked out because when the first 96-page version of it came out, it had a lot of stuff in there about income qualification, about having the financial wherewithal. If anybody remembers seeing that, that when you apply for your business license, you're going to supply some financials. And it occurred to me the other day, and driving, and my brain slipped out of gear, and I was just zoning. And I do some other work with the Oklahoma State Department of Health and some other areas. So the Oklahoma State Department of Health regulates residential care and assisted living, memory center type stuff. And those regulations and those rules are extremely specific about the type of financial wherewithal you have to operate a business. So I think a lot of times this industry feels kind of targeted to a certain extent, but I don't think that was intentional on their part. I'm glad it got removed. But when that's what you know how to do, so if you're the Oklahoma State Department of Health and you're every other aspect that you regulate that requires that, and you're like, well, we'll just throw this in for these people too. It got taken out, thankfully. But so as you think about the people that are the regulators here, they're not horns. They actually want to see the business succeed. I got an opportunity to have lunch with the OBN General Counsel yesterday. We spent a couple hours at lunch getting to know each other. Been talking on the phone for about 9 months, 1 or 2 times a week. And the message that I think you would allow me to send is that OBN, the OMMA, everybody, they care about making this successful. Now, what I told him, and this is for compliance purposes, maybe this is where we stop, is that I said, you know, I don't want to be sitting here having lunch with you a year from now, and the cheaters have won. Mm-hmm. That's what I don't want to have happen. And you can look at that from several different perspectives, right? So the 75-25 rule on ownership, that they need to hold the line on that, right? And they have so far. I don't know how well that they are reviewing ownership issues, and there was a large section of the Unity bill that got taken out, but it got put back in with one sentence. But the part that got taken out was they were going to start having, if you owned 25, if your economic interest in the business was larger than your ownership interest. So I don't know how many have done deals or gone through any sort of financing or Series A or Series B. But what will happen in these deals is they'll come in and they'll say, hey, we'll give you $1 million. We're only going to take a 25% ownership stake. But until you pay us back 2x, 3x, whatever it is, then all the profits and losses flow to us.
Kind of like a mortgage.
Sort of.
Interest.
Yeah, sort of.
Management.
So what the Unity bill had in it that they took out that was explicit, but they put back in with one sentence was they were going to have you have to disclose that to the OMMA as part of your application process. And it has to do with out-of-state ownership, though. Remember that the 25% stuff only applies to out-of-state ownership. And so, but they took all that out, and they said, what it said was you have to get approval before this occurs. So we're not even going to give you a license until this is all approved. They've taken all that out, but what they added was a sentence it said direct economic and indirect economic interest and beneficial ownership. I'm paraphrasing that. Rules and regs will be promulgated by OMMA. So I would anticipate seeing some of the out-of-state ownership stuff, or that review of how people are owning their interest coming back in when they promulgate new regulations next fall. So Unity passed, right? There's no emergency clause on it. Go into effect August 15th, 16th, somewhere in there, and then they'll have to do new rules and regs based on Unity.
But that was good.
Oh no, that one's good. So but the other part of the compliance issue, so the cheaters. So you got the out-of-state cheaters, right, and you got the in-state cheaters. And so what I'm hearing is that enforcement's coming. So if you're not doing it right, then you're about to be out of business. Maybe not immediately, maybe not, but if you have a grower who has got their grower's license and they're going out of state and buying stuff and coming back and selling it to dispensaries and processors, that's fixing to get shot. That's fixing to get that quashed.
Is that going to be public information?
There is a snitch site on OMMA has a business complaint form that you can fill out that is quasi-anonymous. If you want to be really anonymous, send me an email.
But all of that is only complaint driven, right?
Yeah, they're not gonna. They don't know. I mean, unless I mean, how are the guys at OBN or OMMA, men and women, gonna know that something's wrong unless somebody tells them? Right. So, I'm not saying you have to. I don't want the system used to. I mean, like I'm in an industry that's highly regulated, and if people file complaints, then I could lose my license or be suspended. But attorneys don't just file complaints against each other. Right. We don't. We probably should. That's a separate issue. We probably should. But for the most part, we don't use that system to punish each other because we don't like each other. All right. So when you think about the OMMA site, the ability to complain, think about it from the standpoint of, yeah, I don't really. Chris is kind of a jackwagon, and I probably am. But I don't. But if I don't want to report him because I don't like him, I'm just gonna. That's not how that's to be used. But if you know people who are dispensaries who are buying street weed and then selling it, or if you know processors who are processing and then putting their wares into dispensaries and they don't have a processor license, that stuff needs to stop, or else this all is going to go away. I mean, it's all gonna go away. So,
Or buying out of state.
or buying out of state and bringing it back in and trying to sell as if your own. You know, all that stuff is. We have this state and and you all I'm going to call you the mom and pops because I know that's a phrase. I mean, my Twitter handle is my name, Chris W. Cotner, I believe, but I use a lawyer to the not so rich and famous because I'm not a tall building lawyer. I'm a small building lawyer.
There you go.
And so these are the businesses I care about. I've represented small to mid-sized businesses my entire career for the last 18 years, and these are the businesses I care about. But if we don't do it right, then it's all going to go away.
Right.
And the big boys will win, and they'll get their money, and we'll go on, and we'll have to not file bankruptcy. We'll just owe a bunch of money.
Is there any added protection to have your C Corp open another C Corp to operate under?
From criminal liability?
Right.
No.
No.
No. Yeah.
I was going to say that they've already started cracking down.
Have they?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I work for a company called Hemp Tempson. What we do are we help dispensaries and grows and processors get employees. So
Okay.
there's some dispensaries that I've went to that have already shut down, and I've called them, and they're like, well, they slapped us. They didn't have like an occupancy. There was
They
something
didn't have
that
the
they were
occupancy
missing. So
permit, yeah.
they went up the block, and but they said as soon as they get this, they'll be back open. It's another dispensary I went to today where the health department said that for the edibles, they're going to charge them a fine for each edible that they have that doesn't have, whether it's a batch number and have everything that
Okay.
they need.
So it's something.
they're
Enforcement's
starting to
happening.
crack down
Okay.
a lot.
Because I think we're on the backside of everybody at the regulatory level just trying to get people registered to do business. I think we're past that point, and so yeah, I'm glad to know. I mean, to a certain extent, there may be enforcement actions that aren't warranted, and just there's not really a process for that right now. But I've been trying to figure out. But there is immunity, so like I said, I was fighting the state of Oklahoma today, and it's another agency, and they have an administrative law process, and so when an enforcement action is taken, you have the ability to challenge that enforcement action, and you go through a court process, but you do it not in court. And so that process is coming to OMMA as well. So there's a lot going on. I mean, I've probably just burned through a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure there's a million more questions. I can leave some cards. You can take them with you. If you have complaints you want to make, forward them to me. I will forward them to the General Counsel for OMMA and the General Counsel for OBN, and I will remove any identifying details of the person making the complaint. If you want to leave in the identifying details of the people doing wrong, that's up to you. But to begin to catalog and collect those. So, and then from a business perspective, hopefully all of you are set up appropriately. Hopefully you have your entity. Hopefully you have your CPA, your bookkeeper. Hopefully you have your proper tax election as your entity, as the C Corp.
Wow.
What else? You got 5 minutes.
Another question.
Yeah.
Can a church own a dispensary or a grow?
Not heard that you can't.
Non-profit.
That they don't pay certain taxes but would they pay those taxes with?
So churches don't pay taxes on income. There doesn't seem to be a provision, like in California, for instance. There's California expertise or somewhere around in here, but so some of the stuff that's been happening is I think you have to be a not-for-profit corporation, if I remember that right.
Not anymore in California, you don't have to be.
Okay.
In Colorado, you're for a nonprofit. Any kind of church goes. They've got them everywhere.
And they can own it. Yeah. So it's probably not as prevalent yet.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. You ask whatever question. I mean, you can ask anything. Ask
Okay.
AMA. Ask me anything.
Okay. So are they doing inspections of grows? OMMA now?
I know a couple grows that have been inspected. I mean, I don't know that it's been like take your checklist and let's go take the white gloves type inspection. But I know they've been walked through. What I'm hearing is, and I think this is true of most state agencies in Oklahoma. There are a couple that have some exceptions. Is what we care about is compliance.
Yes.
We don't care about. We want to get you in compliance.
Right.
So what do we have to do to get you in compliance?
Teach them.
Correction plan. You do a correction plan and you get it fixed and you teach them. So I think that's happening. So yeah. And I mean, Oklahoma loves the investment. Don't get me wrong on the 75-25. We love the
When do you
investment.
think testing is going to be implemented?
It's part of Unity, so it's coming.
Yeah, can you touch on the inventory management of the emergency rules and the monthly reporting?
Are you doing it?
I have a software platform to help with that.
Have you been doing it then?
I'm a software engineer.
Okay.
I'm not a particular grower or dispensary, but those are around the corner.
So, I mean, for better or for worse, OMMA said, we're going to put these reporting on our website, and you're just going to come on here and hit and do it. Now, I mean, I think there's some genius to that. Here's the problem. It doesn't tie in with anything.
Right.
So until the state of Oklahoma decides to open up the standards and say,
Not the API or
yeah, and set it up, and I think that's happening for OBN as well at some point in time. OBN reporting is quarterly, but they want the same stuff that you've got that you're doing OMMA. Their reporting requirements are OMMA required, and so they're talking about having that be populated both ways. So as soon as you hit send, it goes to both agencies. So for some reason, they think that's technically expensive to do. I'm not sure that it is all that expensive. No, it's yeah. I mean, we could probably do it this evening if we sat down and wanted to. So, but the problem is, there's maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it is. I don't want to say it's a problem. But the seed to sale tracking is not necessarily. They haven't mandated a standard.
I don't want to peddle seed to sale.
Yeah.
It's more of fitting the niche of what Oklahoma needs.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the inventory tracking system is going to be, they haven't mandated they haven't mandated standards. They've just basically said.
Yeah, they laid out like tracking wet weight,
yeah,
how much you have around in inventory,
yeah,
how much you sell to different people.
API for patient ID.
Is there even a legal limit a cardholder can purchase in a month or a certain period of time?
The dispensaries are limited to selling to no, I don't think there is. It's dispensary limits to one person at a time. I've read those rules.
Dispensaries, they can go hit one every different day, and there's no limit to what a cardholder can.
There's no theoretically.
There is possession.
There's a limit on what you can have in your
Right,
home.
in your home.
Well, I know in your home, but I mean.
But you can buy. But if I wanted to buy 72 ounces from the dispensary down the street, and then the next day go buy 72 more ounces, it's not like they're doing the Sudafed D stuff where they run my driver's license. You know.
People are going to do that, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Will you finish up with kind of what you mentioned that from your talk with the general counsel that what they're really going to be diversion, doors.
So what they care about is, I mean, OMA cares about stuff from a different perspective, but OBN cares about how is stuff not going out the back door.
Yeah.
That's what they care about. Because they want to see, like I said, they want to see the industry succeed as much as anybody else does. Because it's going to free up a lot of their time to do other stuff. And so they've got the doors requirement where you got to have self-locking doors. The way I read the reg, and maybe you have a different view on this, but the way I read the reg is you got to have this kind of door. But if you can't get that achieved, then you got to have this kind of door. And if all else fails, then you got to have somebody watching it. I mean, that's how I read the reg. So it's not that bad. I mean, it's not. It shouldn't be. I'm not implementing again, but it's not. It shouldn't be that hard. Where I think people got sideways is the fence requirement. That's where I think some people got sideways. So if you have an outdoor grow or a greenhouse, as opposed to I call them red iron buildings. I'm sure different names for steel buildings, whatever they are. Then you have to have the 6-foot fence and the privacy issue.
That's a requirement for insurance anyways.
Is it? Okay. So I think some people got sideways with the idea that if I have, how's a greenhouse any different from a steel building or a red iron building? And I want to go, are you kidding me? In terms of the ability to break into. There's a significant difference. Now, what I pointed out to him yesterday, I said, part of me thinks that just putting fences around it makes it automatically a target. So, it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of another. So, oh yeah, there's that fence. I know what those guys are doing.
But their perspective will be largely making sure people aren't diverting products, making sure it's safe, making sure it's not around kids, making sure that you're not out-of-state stuff. I mean, that's what their regular OBN especially. That's what they're going to be.
Yeah, they're not going to be worried about if you have a dispensary and you can't put anything in Luther right now, right? And that sorry, it's a joke. The town of Luther's having some issues. But they don't care that my grandma owns a dispensary. They don't care about her. They care about the people that own a dispensary who also have cartel ties, for lack of a better analogy. So that's who they care about. Yeah, and that's why you're having to disclose all this stuff. I know it feels awful to have to tell the government what my name is and I'm selling weed, right? What are you doing? What's your full legal name and what are you doing? But one of the reasons they're doing it is for those diversion issues. I mean, if you think about it from a compliance standpoint, they want to make sure that you are who you say you are, and that you've proven that you are who you say you are. So
I have a question
yeah.
about the dispensaries. When you go in, I have some that actually take my driver's license and my card, and some that just take my card. Is there a legality to that?
I think that probably the driver's license is above and beyond.
Yeah.
But it's the dispensaries that just take your email. That's the issue.
Required.
You guys think I'm kidding? There are dispensaries that do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it required for them to take my license? Because I've actually seen some patients get upset and leave dispensaries asking for driver's licenses and going down the street to one that maybe doesn't require that you give those.
Yeah, I mean that's a business issue. I mean there are some people who probably, maybe this is we can close on this. As you think about your businesses, you help me think about your business. I'm not a business consultant, so that's not. I mean I'm a legal guy, but I've seen enough to know that there are some things to do. And one of the things you have to think about is the structure that I'm putting in place now feels really big. Like there's a lot of stuff that I'm having to do here that I don't really understand, and the reason is because you're going to grow into it.
That's right.
You're going to grow. So you have to think about your structure, not what I need today, but what it's going to look like in 5 years. And a lot of people, as they think about compliance, they're going above and beyond the compliance standards so that they're ready. If it ever happens that driver's license besides patient cards are required, they're going to be like, they've been doing that for years. No big deal. So think about your structure.
So it's not required, but it's up to the individual business.
Yeah, I've not seen a requirement on driver's license. Patient license, no question, because there are probably lots of people who have patient licenses who don't have driver's license.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, all leave cards.
Yep, thank you again.
Thank you.